The first shot cracked through the morning silence like a whip. A buzzard fled the rocks, its wings slicing through the pale dawn sky. Dalton dropped to one knee, revolver drawn, eyes narrowing at the figure struggling in the sand ahead, a woman, chained to an iron stake half buried in the dirt. Her wrists were raw, caked in dried blood and dust. The desert wind tugged at her dark hair, streaked with sweat and grit. She wasn't begging. She wasn't crying. She just stared at him, a stare so fierce it could have cut through steel. Dalton holstered his gun and stepped closer, boots crunching against the parched earth. The remnants of a campfire smoked nearby, signs of the slavers who had left her there to die. He'd been tracking them for 2 days. They were gone now, but their cruelty lingered like a ghost in the heat. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said, voice low, steady. "Then go," she spat. Her voice was cracked but strong. "Leave me. I'd rather die here than owe a man like you." Dalton's jaw tightened. He knelt beside the stake, pulling a knife from his belt. The metal glinted as the first sunbeams spilled over the horizon. With one hard strike, the blade cut through the chain. The clatter echoed across the dunes, the sound of freedom, or something pretending to be it. She didn't thank him. Didn't even move at first. Her body trembled from exhaustion, but her eyes stayed sharp, full of defiance. "You're free," he said quietly. "No," she hissed, pushing herself up. "You just traded one kind of chain for another." Dalton straightened, slipping the knife back into its sheath. He could have left her, should have. But the sight of her, beaten, burned, yet unbroken, hit something deep inside him. A wound he'd been carrying far longer than the scars on his hands. A distant rumble rolled through the desert horses. Slavers returning. Dalton's hand went to his revolver again. "Move," he ordered. "They'll be back. I told you." "Then die stubborn," he snapped, grabbing her arm. She twisted free and snatched the revolver from his holster in one swift motion. Her aim was unsteady, but her eyes were sure. "I don't need saving." The horses grew louder, shouts in the distance. Dalton's pulse quickened. "Then shoot me," he said, stepping closer, voice hard as gravel. "But if you don't, we run. Now." For a heartbeat, the desert froze. The wind held its breath. Then she lowered the gun. They ran. Sand exploded under their feet as the first riders crested the ridge behind them. The rising sun spilling red light over the endless dunes, and the chase began. The desert came alive behind them, hooves pounding. Shouts rising like thunder over the dunes. Dalton pushed forward, his breath burning in his chest. Sand exploding beneath his boots. Beside him, Kiona ran with a strength that didn't match her starved frame. Her bare feet cutting across the rocks. The chains still clanged against her wrist. A cruel reminder that freedom never came clean. "Down," Dalton barked, yanking her behind a cluster of boulders. Bullets hissed through the air, striking the sand around them. The scent of gunpowder mixed with heat, with fear. Kiona pressed against the stone, gasping, her eyes sharp and wild. "Why do they chase you like a dog?" she demanded. "They're not chasing me," he answered. "They're coming for you." She gave a bitter laugh. "Then you should have left me to die." Dalton peeked around the rock, 5 riders, closing in. He counted their shadows against the morning light. No time to argue. He reloaded his revolver, movements precise, silent. "You ever shoot?" "I've killed," she said flatly. Dalton met her eyes. There was no bluff in them. Just truth, old and hard. He handed her a spare revolver from his belt. "Then help me make sure we live long enough to hate each other later." The first rider appeared over the ridge. Dalton fired once, clean, sharp. The man toppled backward, hoarse screaming as it crashed into the sand. The rest scattered, circling, shouting orders in Spanish. Kiona fired next. The shot missed but forced them to split again. Dalton moved, rolling behind another boulder, firing twice more. The air filled with dust and noise. When the echoes finally faded, 3 men rode off into the distance, dragging the wounded with them, to lay still in the sand. Dalton lowered his weapon, breathing heavy. Kiona stood, her hands shaking slightly, eyes locked on the fallen. "You didn't kill them all." "I killed enough," Dalton said. "The desert will finish the rest." She didn't look convinced. Blood smeared her arm, not her own, a graze from a passing bullet. He reached out, but she pulled away. "Don't touch me. You'll bleed out if you don't. I've bled before." Her defiance burned hotter than the sun. Dalton stepped back, jaw tight. The desert stretched endless ahead of them, shimmering with heat. Somewhere beyond those dunes, there was water, shelter, maybe a chance. He turned north. "We move before they circle back." Kiona didn't move. "You keep giving orders like you own me." "I don't," he said quietly. "But if you stay here, they'll own your corpse." For a moment, her gaze softened, just barely. Then she started walking, silent, the broken chain glinting in the light. Dalton followed a few paces behind. As the sun climbed higher, their shadows stretched long across the sand, 2 shapes bound not by trust, but by survival. And behind them, vultures began to gather. By midday, the desert turned white with heat. Every breath felt like swallowing dust. They had walked for hours without a word, the silence between them heavy, almost physical. Dalton's canteen was half empty. Kiona refused to take a sip when he offered it. Pride, he thought, would kill her faster than thirst. They reached what had once been a trading post, now just a skeleton of wood and wind. The roof sagged, the door hung by a single hinge. A dry well sat in the middle of the yard, filled with nothing but sand and old bones. Still, it was shelter. Dalton dropped his saddlebag and scanned the horizon. "We'll rest here till dark." Kiona didn't answer. She sank against a wall, her breathing shallow, her wrists raw and cracked. He crouched near the well, pretending to check for water, just to give her space. "You ever been out this far?" he asked finally. "I was taken farther," she replied. Her voice was distant, almost detached. "Beyond the border, past the mountains. I lost count of the days. Chains don't measure time." Dalton looked up. "And yet you're still standing." Her eyes met his, sharp as flint. "You think that makes me free?" He didn't reply. The question hit harder than any bullet. He turned away, pulling a small cloth bundle from his pack, dried meat, stale bread. He handed her half. She stared at it for a long moment before taking it. They ate in silence. The air shimmered, thick with heat and unspoken things. "You could have left me there," she said at last. "Would have saved yourself trouble." "Maybe," Dalton said. "But I've left enough people behind already." Kiona studied him. "You sound like a man who's trying to wash blood from his hands." He almost smiled, though there was nothing funny about it. "You don't wash it off. You just learn to live with the stain." She didn't look away. "And you think helping me makes you clean?" "No," he said. "But it's a start." The wind picked up, whistling through the broken boards. Kiona shifted, wincing as she moved her injured arm. Dalton hesitated, then tore a strip from his shirt and stepped closer. "Let me wrap that," he said quietly. This time, she didn't refuse. He cleaned the wound as best he could, his hands steady but careful. She watched him, her expression unreadable. When he finished, she murmured, "You're too gentle for a man who kills." Dalton met her gaze. "Maybe that's why I kill." They sat in silence again. The only sound, the whisper of the wind through the empty well. Outside, the sun began to sink, turning the desert gold. For the first time, Kiona spoke softly, almost to herself. "Freedom isn't something you give, it's something you take." Dalton nodded slowly. "Then take it. I won't stop you." She looked toward the horizon, endless, merciless, and beautiful. "I will," she said, "when I'm strong enough to walk alone." Night fell fast in the desert. One moment, the sky was bronze, the next black velvet, scattered with cold stars. Dalton built a small fire behind the trading post ruins, keeping it low, hidden from the open sands. The flames whispered instead of roared. That was how he liked it. Noise drew things, men, memories, ghosts. Kiona sat a few feet away, her knees pulled to her chest. The bandage he'd made was already dark with blood, but she didn't seem to care. Her eyes were fixed on the flames, as if reading them like an old story. Dalton chewed a strip of jerky, his hand near his revolver. Old habits never died. He'd spend too many nights like this, waiting for something to come out of the dark. "You don't sleep?" she asked quietly. He shook his head. "Sleep's for people with peace." A faint smile crossed her lips. "Then neither of us will rest tonight." The fire cracked. Somewhere far off, a coyote called, a sound like laughter echoing through the emptiness. Dalton's mind drifted, unbidden, to another fire long ago, flames rising high, smoke choking the night, and screams that no wind could carry away. He'd been younger then, uniform crisp, orders clear, burn the village, leave nothing alive. He gripped the edge of his coat until his knuckles turned white. Kiona's gaze flicked toward him. "Your hands shake when you remember." He looked up, startled. "You don't know what I remember." "I don't have to," she said. "I've seen that look before. The men who carried me wore it too." Dalton turned away, jaw clenched. "I'm not like them." "Not anymore," she corrected softly. The words hit harder than she knew. The desert wind picked up, scattering the firelight across her face. Dalton saw it then. Not just the scars, but the strength beneath them. She wasn't a victim. She was a survivor, built from broken edges. He reached for his rifle, checking the barrel. "We move before sunrise." Slavers might have sent word. Kiona tilted her head. "And if it's not slavers chasing you?" Dalton froze. She caught it, the small hesitation. "There's someone else out there," she said. "Someone you're running from." He met her eyes, and for a moment the firelight reflected something raw, fear, regret, something heavier than guilt. "Not running," he said finally. "Just waiting." "For what?" "For the past to find me." A long silence followed. The flames flickered low, the cold creeping in around them. Kiona drew her blanket tighter, but her eyes never left him. Finally, she said, "When it does, will you face it or run again?" Dalton stared into the dying fire. "Depends who's holding the gun." A gust of wind snuffed the flame. Darkness swallowed them whole, and somewhere beyond the dunes, a horse neighed distant, but too close to be a dream. The sound came again, hooves, muffled but certain. Dalton's instincts snapped awake. He motioned for silence, his hand already gripping the revolver. Kiona froze, eyes wide, her breath barely stirring the cold air. Beyond the ruined wall, faint lights flickered, lanterns swaying in the dark. The riders had found them. Dalton whispered, Stay low." She nodded once, her face ghostly in the starlight. He crawled to the edge of the crumbled doorway, peering through a gap in the boards. 4 men, no, 5. One held a torch, another scanned the ruins with a rifle slung across his back. The horses snorted, restless. They hadn't seen the fire's ashes yet, luck or mercy. Either would run out fast. Dalton pointed toward the back wall. "There's a gully behind the post. Leads to the ridge." Kiona frowned. "And what about you?" "I'll slow them down." Her whisper turned sharp. "You think I'll just run while you die?" Before he could answer, a beam of lantern light sliced through the crack, catching a shimmer, the metal of her broken chain. "Over here!" Someone shouted. Dalton fired first. The shot echoed like thunder, dropping the torchbearer in a burst of flame and dust. Chaos erupted. Horses reared, men cursed, bullets tore through the walls. Kiona ducked as splinters rained down. Dalton moved like a ghost, reloading, firing, shifting positions between the shadows. He caught sight of her crawling toward him, clutching the fallen man's rifle. "Stay down," he barked. "Not this time," she snapped back. She rose to one knee, aimed, and fired a clean shot that hit the nearest rider square in the chest. He fell without a sound. Dalton blinked. She didn't miss twice. The fight raged for minutes that felt like hours. One of the attackers circled behind the ruins. Dalton caught him by the ankle as he crept through the rubble, dragging him down and smashing the butt of his revolver into the man's jaw. Another rider charged from the front, firing wildly. Kiona rolled, grabbed the dropped pistol, and emptied it into the horse's flank. The beast screamed, collapsing, crushing its rider beneath. Silence returned, broken only by the crackle of dying embers and the labored breath of 2 survivors. Dalton rose slowly, scanning the horizon. 2 horses fled into the dark, the rest lay still. Kiona leaned against the wall, chest heaving, hair clinging to her sweat-slicked face. "You said you'd slow them down," she muttered. "You didn't say you'd kill them all." Dalton holstered his revolver. "I didn't plan to." He knelt beside one of the bodies, searching the pockets. A small insignia glimmered, not the mark of slavers. Government issue. Kiona noticed the change in his expression. "Who are they?" Dalton closed his fist around the badge. "Men I used to ride with." Her eyes darkened. "Then it's true, your past has found you." He didn't answer. Instead, he picked up the nearest saddlebag, slung it over his shoulder, and met her gaze. "We move, now." The sun rose red that morning, bleeding over the dunes like an open wound. Dalton and Kiona moved in silence, their boots leaving a crooked trail through the sand. The fight had left its mark, smoke on their clothes, dust in their lungs, death in their eyes. By the time the sky turned gold, they found a cluster of rocks that offered shade. Dalton dropped his gear, kneeling beside a patch of stubborn sagebrush. Kiona sank against a stone, her breathing rough. The silence between them wasn't angry now. It was tired. The kind of silence that grows after too much has been said with bullets. Dalton poured the last of the water into the tin cup and handed it to her. She hesitated, then drank, eyes never leaving his face. "You knew them," she said finally. "The men last night." Dalton stared at the horizon. "Once soldiers." He nodded. "Used to ride under Captain Ward, Arizona Regiment. We were told we were protecting settlers. But the truth..." He stopped, the words clawing at his throat. Kiona waited. He took a deep breath. "We weren't protecting anyone. We were cleaning the land, burning villages, driving out anyone who didn't." belonged to our idea of civilized. They said it was duty. I called it justice. Until I saw the smoke. Kiona's eyes narrowed, but she didn't interrupt. There was a raid near San Pedro, Dalton continued, voice low. A camp of Apache families. Not warriors. Just people. We surrounded them at dawn, same way those bastards chained you. I followed orders. I lit the torch. He looked down at his hands, as if expecting to still see the soot there. When the wind shifted, I saw a woman trying to carry a child through the fire. Couldn't have been older than you were then. I froze. Ward shot her himself. Silence. Even the desert seemed to hold its breath. Kiona's voice came quiet, steady. So now you're running from ghosts? Dalton shook his head. No. Ghosts don't chase you. Men do. And they wear your uniform. He met her gaze. They'll keep coming. They think I betrayed them when I walked away. You did. Her words hit like a blade, but there was no malice in them, just truth. He sighed, leaning back against the rock. You ever wish you could trade memory for sleep? Kiona looked toward the sun, her expression unreadable. Memory is what keeps us from becoming like them. Dalton studied her, the way her eyes reflected the light. Fierce and alive despite everything. You talk like someone who's already forgiven the world. She gave a bitter smile. Forgiveness is for the living. I just haven't died yet. For a while, they said nothing. The wind moved over the sand, carrying the faint scent of smoke and sage. Finally, Dalton stood. We head east before noon. There's a canyon that cuts through the ridge. Water, maybe shelter. Kiona rose slowly, wincing from the pain in her side. And after that, he paused. After that, I figure the past will find us again. It always does. The sun rose red that morning, bleeding over the dunes like an open wound. Dalton and Kiona moved in silence, their boots leaving a crooked trail through the sand. The fight had left its mark, smoke on their clothes, dust in their lungs, death in their eyes. By the time the sky turned gold, they found a cluster of rocks that offered shade. Dalton dropped his gear, kneeling beside a patch of stubborn sagebrush. Kiona sank against a stone, her breathing rough. The silence between them wasn't angry now. It was tired. The kind of silence that grows after too much has been said with bullets. Dalton poured the last of the water into the tin cup and handed it to her. She hesitated, then drank, eyes never leaving his face. You knew them, she said finally. The men last night. Dalton stared at the horizon. Once soldiers. He nodded. Used to ride under Captain Ward, Arizona Regiment. We were told we were protecting settlers. But the truth. He stopped, the words clawing at his throat. Kiona waited. He took a deep breath. We weren't protecting anyone. We were cleaning the land, burning villages, driving out anyone who didn't belong to our idea of civilized. They said it was duty. I called it justice. Until I saw the smoke. Kiona's eyes narrowed, but she didn't interrupt. There was a raid near San Pedro, Dalton continued, voice low. A camp of Apache families. Not warriors. Just people. We surrounded them at dawn, same way those bastards chained you. I followed orders. I lit the torch. He looked down at his hands, as if expecting to still see the soot there. When the wind shifted, I saw a woman trying to carry a child through the fire. Couldn't have been older than you were then. I froze. Ward shot her himself. Silence. Even the desert seemed to hold its breath. Kiona's voice came quiet, steady. So now you're running from ghosts? Dalton shook his head. No. Ghosts don't chase you. Men do. And they wear your uniform. He met her gaze. They'll keep coming. They think I betrayed them when I walked away. You did. Her words hit like a blade, but there was no malice in them, just truth. He sighed, leaning back against the rock. You ever wish you could trade memory for sleep? Kiona looked toward the sun, her expression unreadable. Memory is what keeps us from becoming like them. Dalton studied her, the way her eyes reflected the light. Fierce and alive despite everything. You talk like someone who's already forgiven the world. She gave a bitter smile. Forgiveness is for the living. I just haven't died yet. For a while, they said nothing. The wind moved over the sand, carrying the faint scent of smoke and sage. Finally, Dalton stood. We head east before noon. There's a canyon that cuts through the ridge. Water, maybe shelter. Kiona rose slowly, wincing from the pain in her side. And after that, he paused. After that, I figure the past will find us again. It always does. The sun was already bleeding. Across the stone when Dalton realized the canyon had gone silent. No wind, no bird cry. Only the crunch of their boots and the heavy pulse in his ears. He raised a hand. Stop. Kiona froze, eyes narrowing. She felt it too, the kind of quiet that means someone's watching. The air was thick with heat, dust trembling like smoke. Dalton's fingers slid toward his revolver as his gaze tracked the cliffs. Nothing moved. Then, a small sound, a rock tumbling from above. Move, he barked, pulling her down just as a bullet tore through the air. Slamming into the wall beside them, dust exploded. Another shot followed, echoing down the gorge like thunder. Kiona rolled behind a boulder, rifle ready. Dalton crouched beside her, breath ragged. The attackers were hidden high among the rocks. Invisible, but close enough for the echoes to sting. They're driving us into the open, Kiona whispered, scanning the ledges. Not if we move first, Dalton muttered. His eyes flicked to a narrow path curling up the canyon side. Dangerous, but their only chance. Cover me, she said before he could stop her. She darted out, quick as a spark, scrambling toward higher ground. Dalton fired upward, not to hit, just to make noise, to make them hesitate. Dust rained over him. The air smelled of gunpowder and stone. Then came silence again, broken only by the wind returning. Kiona's voice echoed faintly from above. Clear. He climbed after her, boots slipping on gravel. When he reached the top, he found her standing by the edge of the cliff. Rifles still raised, face sharp and calm. Below, the canyon stretched endless and golden, the ambushers already gone. They weren't soldiers, Dalton said, scanning the empty ledges. Traders, maybe bounty men. Or ghosts, Kiona murmured, lowering the rifle. Out here, it's hard to tell the difference. For a moment, they stood together, breathing hard. The world wide and blinding around them. Then Kiona nodded, toward the far ridge. There's water ahead. We move before dark. Dalton followed, the ache in his shoulder returning, but he said nothing. The light was dying fast, and the desert always whispered louder at night. By dusk, they reached the place she'd seen. A narrow hollow where water trickled from stone into a small pool. The air was cooler here, shadows stretching long and soft. Kiona knelt first, touching the water as if testing whether it was real. Dalton watched her, his breath unsteady, dust caking every line of his face. You're burning up, she said quietly. He tried to laugh, but it came out as a cough. Just the heat. She shook her head, tearing a strip from her sleeve and dipping it in the water. You should have said something. When she pressed the cloth to his shoulder, he winced but didn't pull away, The wound wasn't deep, but infection had already taken hold. He'd ignored it too long. The silence between them softened. Water dripped. Crickets began their low hum. "You could have left me," he said. "I thought about it," she replied, voice dry but not cold. "But then I remembered, you still owe me for those chains." Dalton smiled faintly, the first real one in days. "Guess I do." For a while, they sat in quiet, the sound of the stream echoing faintly through the canyon. Kiona stared at her reflection, rippling and uncertain. "When the sun rises, I'll go my own way," she said finally. "You should too." Dalton nodded. He wanted to argue, but the words wouldn't come. Some things didn't need fighting. As night fell, stars spilled over the canyon's rim. The pool shimmered like glass. Kiona lay against the stone, eyes half closed. Dalton kept watch by the fire, shadows flickering over his tired face. He glanced at her, the woman who had cursed him, defied him, saved him. Somewhere between anger and respect, something unspoken had begun to take root. The desert was quiet again, but not empty. It listened. Tomorrow, they would walk different roads. But tonight, for the first time, they weren't running. The morning broke pale and quiet, the kind of light that feels like forgiveness. Dalton and Kiona climbed the last ridge in silence, every step a reminder of how far they'd come. Below them stretched a wide valley washed in gold, and at its heart, a river, silver and alive. Kiona stopped first. Her breath caught. "Water," she whispered, as if afraid it would vanish if named aloud. Dalton smiled faintly. "Looks like the world still has mercy left." They descended slowly, the canyon behind them shrinking into shadow. The sand turned to clay beneath their boots, and the scent of damp earth replaced the dry burn of dust. For the first time in days, the wind felt cool. At the bank, Kiona knelt and touched the water. Ripples broke across her reflection, scattering her face into fragments of light. Dalton stood behind her, shoulders slumped, eyes distant, as if he saw something more than the river. "You're free now," he said quietly. "No chains, no debts." Kiona looked up at him, her expression unreadable. "And you? What are you now?" He hesitated, a man trying to remember what he was before the killing. They stayed like that for a while, no words, just wind and water. Kiona filled a small pouch, her movements deliberate. Dalton crouched, washing the dried blood from his hands. It ran red, then clear. "I'll head north," she said. "My people might still be there." Dalton nodded, though part of him wanted to ask her to stay. He didn't. Some kinds of love survive only in distance. The river shimmered under the rising sun, its surface catching the sky's reflection, a mirror between two worlds. Kiona turned to him, eyes softer now. "Thank you for cutting those chains." Dalton met her gaze. "You broke the rest yourself." A faint smile touched her lips. Then she turned and walked along the shore, her figure small against the vast bright morning. Dalton watched until she became a shape among the light, until even her shadow was gone. Dalton stood by the river long after she'd vanished, the sound of water filling the space's words. Couldn't. The breeze carried the scent of wet grass and distant rain. He hadn't realized how heavy silence could be when it wasn't shared. He found a flat stone and sat, letting the current wash over his boots. For the first time, he didn't think about running from past, from guilt, from himself. The river moved slow but sure, carving its path through the earth, same as it always had. Maybe that was what freedom looked like, not escape, but direction. He pulled something from his pocket, the small silver pendant Kiona had left beside the fire. Its surface was scratched, the chain broken. He turned it in his fingers, watching the light play across it. Then he placed it in the water and let it drift downstream. A small piece of the past carried away. The sky deepened from gold to violet. The last warmth of the sun touched the ridges behind him, and night began to creep from the east. Dalton rose, his shadow stretching across the sand like a second man walking beside him. He took one last look at the horizon, at the faint trail of footprints leading away, then started in the opposite direction. Every step felt lighter, as if something inside him had finally let go. The desert was quiet again, but no longer empty. The wind moved through the grass like a whisper, soft and endless. Somewhere far off, a coyote called, its voice thin and lonely against the vast sky. Dalton didn't turn back. He didn't need to. The past was behind him, the river between them, and ahead, the open land, wide and waiting. He walked until the night swallowed him, until the stars came alive overhead. Then he stopped, looked up, and smiled faintly, not at what was lost, but at what remained. Freedom, he realized, wasn't in the cutting of chains. It was in learning to live without them.